Hi, this is the first level in the 117% guide, speedrun guide, unless it is the third level because you're following a different route. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Before we get into anything for Sunny, just want to talk about this really quickly. 1.0, you can mash through this, and you can get to starting a run before the music loads. Always wait for the music to load. So the only reason why it didn't show up this time is because the memory card came in. When you're starting, keep in mind too, the second cutscene is very common to crash if you're on FDS, so you'll have to give that a fix. The starting movement, a couple options. You can hold upright, and then once you pivot, you hit square. You'll land on this one step lower. Or you can hold upright and square as you load in, land for the 5 gem, and then rotate into a down right. After that, let's just jump in. This is the starting movement. This is actually, I really like this movement as far as opening movement in a speedrun goes. It's very satisfying to pull off. I think it's very good, like, kind of litmus for how good your movement currently is. So I recommend giving it a good amount of practice, warming up with it and such. Convenient that it's at the start of the run, right? 1.0, so of course I have text there. If you're on 1.1, there won't be. Quick note on jumping up and triggering Bianca. So of note, the gem counts for Sunny will not include this one gem. Sometimes you can accidentally clip it. You'll need to pay attention to that. And some people just kind of like to get it. You'll be able to get it for free after Cloud. It's a non-issue. Again, the movement we just do just doesn't get it. And then on Bianca specifically, be careful about where you land. Landing about where I do. Kind of this general area is pretty much fine. You can delay her just ever so slightly. If you land for an exaggeration like that. So she didn't start to spawn until Spyro really got into frame there. There are 2 variations for sunrise routes. The one I'm going to be covering is the more standard one you'll see speedrunners doing, which is Sunny, Cloud, Sheila. There is also a variation where you do Cloud, Sheila, Sunny. Doing it this way is a little bit easier, albeit just a little bit slower. It allows you to skip having to skip into Sheila in Sunny Villa, as well as skips Whirlwind Bypass, which Whirlwind Bypass in the standard route can also just be skipped by paying money bags, so that's also an option. If you are just wanting to get into runs, it might be better off for you to just do the beginner route. This way you can focus your energy in things that save more time and really getting the route down. But I'll link a good run through of that beginner friendly route down in the description, so you can check that out. And there are 2 Sunny routes. It's a really small route difference depending on if you're going to be getting the proxy or not. Regardless, hold up left. You can jump around that guy. It's a little bit of an annoying hitbox to deal with. Now here, you're going to see me go for the proxy. You don't have to, and if you're on 1.0, you'll still get similar cycles. If you're on 1.1, this guy will actually be a little bit more forward, and so you may actually opt to want to... there's a red gem right here. You may opt to leave this red gem for later, getting it after we get through Sheila. So keep that in mind as well. The way I'm going to teach it is going to be getting this red gem for a number of reasons. 1, sometimes your proxy will push you closer to it anyways. And 2, I think it's slightly faster, at least on 1.0. So keep that in mind. So to start with, again, up, left, we need to jump over this guy just slightly. You don't have to jump to turn around there either. There's a 1 gem right here, so make sure you turn in for that, and you can flame charge this guy. You can see I go for the proxy and I miss. Otherwise, you would cross that stream a little bit earlier. You don't need to jump over that frog either. This guy, Citizen Paulus, you'll get to know him very well because you'll bonk into him and talk to him accidentally. He can be in like 3 different spots somewhere around here. Between the arches, there's 2 spots, and then like between, the center of the arches, I guess. I just said the same thing a couple different times, but one there, one there, one there. So be ready to kind of jump on over him or around him, depending on what you get. Yeah, let's keep going. Try to preempt this guy. You don't want to go too far right. Just stay left of this 1 gem here. We go very wide here to avoid the Zoe grab box. You can see I take it pretty wide. In general, I've taken to aiming for like the left side of this arch. You take that as fast or as slow as you need right there. You can just charge through this basket, flame him, get things kind of slower. Or you can try to be really quick about it. For this is a little bit tricky. You don't want to hit that frog, which is why you do like a very early jump after you pivot. And then what I do recommend here is after you land here, let's see if we can slow it down here. Do a quick charge glide. In this case I don't do it, but that helps me line up just a little bit better. So I'm ready to flame this guy slightly earlier, is what I should say. And then we, take advantage of Sparks' range here, and we push to get it from decently far behind us here. You can accidentally dupe with those 2 guys. It's probably not going to happen to you. Just keep that in mind. I'm going to either preempt this guy. Don't go out towards him. Just kind of aim for right here, left of that corner. You can do a little bit of a flame charge jump if you want to kill this guy slightly early. It's kind of helpful, but it is not going to save you very much time. Regardless, flame charge jump there, and then pivot and get his gem. $160 going into this whirlwind, and now we have our first skip of the run. So first thing I do want to cover here, and let's just see this all in one go. There you go. So first thing I do want to mention is these 3 gems up here. They can be kind of tricky. And the way I recommend handling them is when you land, you charge a little bit, and then you jump. And you ideally want to land kind of on this middle gem, the 5 gem right here. And that'll help guarantee that Sparks picks this one up, the 1 gem. If you're a little bit too far right, you won't get that, and your day will be ruined because you have to go back up the whirlwind for it. Now, this is early Sheila in Sunny Villa, of course. If you do the beginner route, then this will be open, and you'll just go straight through. You'll have already freed Sheila. In this case, there are 2 different ways to do this, and I'll show you this way, and then I'll show you the old way. I don't know that I necessarily recommend the old way, but some people might have more success with it than others, and it can crash the game the other way, not this way that I'm going to show, the main way, where you go behind the portal. It can crash the game, and just some people just go for it anyways, and I do want to arm people with the knowledge of how not to crash. So you'll see both ways. Do whichever one you think is best. If you're a minute and a half in, 2 minutes into the run, and you're crashing on it, it's not as big of a deal, of course, right? All right, so to start with, we glide from all the way over. I usually aim center of this arch as we kind of come in, maybe just a little bit right, because we do want to land on the right side of this arch with the actual door. And then from there, what we're going to want to do, you can take some time to set this up. I find it maybe even a little bit easier to just kind of do this quickly. You may not, and that's all right. I'll take you through kind of a slower approach here as well. So you land with a hover. I'm going to turn left, and what I want to do is I want to walk off and take advantage of the coyote time. It lets me have like a ledge jump right off of the actual ledge itself. And I want to walk out, jump out, so Spyro's kind of facing to the left, and then turn in and kind of use the turning to grind Spyro up this slope here into the portal that is actually bleeding out up top. One thing you can do is mash X towards the top or glide into it, and that can help save, you know, a shallower attempt. So you can see me hold left, and then I start my X input. Right there. So I'm at the top, and you can see this ledge kind of extends out a little bit because I'm sloped, of course. And so I could probably take it even, I think, a little bit further before I actually would jump, but that looks good. We'll play it through. So you're going out left and then turning up and in, sliding Spyro along the upper half of this. It's very important that you do the walk before. You don't want to just raw jump and spin, jump and then move out. You do want to get yourself moving outward so that you can clear this, excuse me, so that you can clear this little arch overhead.
Rescuing the eggs, huh? How sick.
So again, mostly do it from where I land, but if you wanted to, you can mess with the camera a little bit and find something that works for you. Keep in mind you might turn the camera a little bit, and if you hit a wall, it'll bring it closer and it makes it harder to zoom out. Kind of press triangle to reset it. But find a way that works for you. In this case, you know, I can kind of see exactly where I'm aiming for. If I go down left and around, if you fall, there's a very easy way to get back up. You can use the Elucidark shuffle. Just come over here to this little triangle. I think you can go a little bit left, but not too far left. Literally just aim yourself like this, brush up against the wall, charge, jump, and glide. Hover on over here. Or you can do a spin jump here on the side. This one's a little bit tricky. And you might need to hit X towards the top there to save yourself. Flop in like so. Just, you know, be mindful that you're gonna shoot up here. And in general, it does feel like an angle somewhat like this, so slightly greater than 180 of a turn will be helpful. Put this back up. And then again, with this angle, I would go up left, turn in. And you can see there at the top, I did a little bit of a flop, or an X input to kind of help save. Even gliding further back and getting it. Now, if you don't like that, you have another option. This will throw out your gem count, so keep that in mind. Not the end of the world. What you can instead do is not that. You're going to jump, and you're going to want to land here. Jump, and hold X and square. And you could see the portal a little bit up there. I don't have good footage of this, unfortunately. You do not want to enter directly into the portal. You want to enter either technically above it or below it works, but we can't get above it, aside from the other method that we just did. So what we need to do is kind of go wide and turn in and go under it. And so I was, you know, that was, the portal actual was completely off screen, and I was so much lower. And I still was able to make it work. There are two different ways you can do this. You do need to just be careful of where you start. So this one can get you kind of an earlier turn. You can see I didn't get as much camera on the portal that time. Or you can just land here. And again, the only issue is you kind of need to be careful of where you start charging here to turn. This way you just hold X and square. And you go wide. And you kind of need to get a feel for where you turn in. That can sometimes happen. You'll just have to go back up. And again, that's kind of comes from just trying to be consistent with your start. You can glide out and pull back just like so. Again, I'll happily crash duck here. If I were too high, if I were not going to cut my glide there, honestly, what I just did there probably, I think, would have crashed the game. I think it can crash on duck. I'm actually not sure. It would crash on consoles. Well, let's see. Let's learn together. Okay, yeah, there we go. So I guess that other one was fine. So this one did crash the console. Crash duck. Look at that. Beauty of an emulator. We're right back here. Able to keep practicing. But yeah, you can glide out more. Don't go too far. Pull back. And then aim. Oop. That can happen. And then aim for underneath the portal. You might need to go left and then go back right, as I kind of did there. And like I said, my success seems to be coming from being more up towards the top here. Just like so. Alright, so that is getting into Sheila early. Two different options there. Let's speed this back up. Mash on through this. Mash through this, and you have a couple different options of what you can do here. So to start with, coming out of this dialogue as soon as you mash, you can see I'm holding up right and L2. So camera, camera, camera with Sheila and Bentley, as far as like moving and using the camera, I think are very, very helpful. Technically, it's more of like a, it's not as important with Bird. It's different with Bird, I should say. But get used to using your camera buttons for Sheila, and in general, it's good to just use for Spyro when it comes up. But like I said, we're going to hold L2. It's going to switch into an up input. And that gets my camera just kind of nice and centered over here, which is exactly where I need to go. This is kind of tricky to start with, and you may not have success from it, which is okay. I'll show you how to deal with it if you don't want to do this. So up right. I hope I didn't say up left before. Switch into up, and we're just going to weave around that little thing. This is not a quick double jump. This is somewhat of a delayed double jump. And we can just barely clear this. So let's see this in one go. So you could hear it was toot toot instead of toot toot, you know, making these noises here. So there's a normal double jump, and then there's one that would be, I would say that one was a little bit too slow. So that was a better speed. A couple different things that can happen. If that happens, your camera shoots and screws you up. You can then immediately turn to holding down, and when your camera refocuses, you'll be good. So this can happen if you didn't get your camera enough. So you can see I can hold down and land on up here. Just like so. If you don't like that, you can land down here and super jump on over. Same thing with the camera. You can then switch to a down input. You don't want to keep your super jump. You would want to land and then reinitiate your super jump. Some people don't even do this at all. Some people will drop down and kind of clear things and then go up. And then when they come down, they will clean up. Just like so. So. Yep, we'll see that. You can cancel towards the top here. There's going to be quite a few Sheila super jump cancels. This is a very vertical area. So this head bash crate is kind of complicated. It's probably easier for me to show. But in general, the way that I've taken, which I've stolen from Nitroff, your camera ends up like this, centered right nice behind you. And so let's see this in action, and I'll explain like why it's good to do it this way. You're probably going to want to do these the same way so that you get a repeatable camera each time. Because if you're assuming you're doing, you know, not the part I just laid out before, but if you're doing the normal movement here, it can be a little bit tricky to line things up with your camera being inconsistent. So basically, you're going to hit, you're not going to miss, and then you're going to wait until you start to see this green gem pop out. You're going to jump out towards it turn around, and you're going to be able to catch this red gem in midair. If there's a red gem you're going to miss doing this, it's going to be this one. So you might need to turn out. And then that gets you lined up very, very nicely here. You can see I go into the wall and then I kind of come out. That is one option for getting this done. Ideally, you don't land on this platform. You just kind of slink right next to it. If you're too far out, you'll miss the gem. And then I'll put you lined up right nicely for this, and you walk forward, and you get this one gem. This is tricky, and like I said, I turn into the wall here. You can see I didn't go left, but my camera that I was holding R2 with pushed me into the wall. And then I kind of cleared this seam. This is where there's like a turn in the wall. It kind of goes right here, and then over there. A little bit hard to see. About when I switch, and then I rotate down into down left to pull myself off of the wall. And that's usually a good way to handle it. Let's see that all in one go. Just peel myself off the wall there. Now, that's kind of the tricky part. And again, having your camera consistent. Also, 180 here is what you want to see, even though you've got everything coming out. One other way you can kind of think about doing this is using the visual cue of these shinglings, the lines here. So if we go up and we stand right here, so this is like the very edge, and if I double jump, or super jump, excuse me, you can see the edge was kind of right in the center here, so it's about 2.5 over. And so what you can kind of shoot for is you can kind of shoot to jump over this second area and kind of go slanted downwards. Or you could shoot to kind of go just right over top, directly over top this and fall straight downwards. This third line here. Pretend like I have this right. So right over the third is kind of a little bit difficult to see. Again, this isn't super easy. Or about 2.5 and holding right. I do cut it there. I think I like landing on 3 and going straight down a little bit better. Worst case scenario is you would fall down here and you would have to then back this up in some way. Now moving on. For Sheila, the best way you can handle it is pushing Sparks to its limits, his limits. You can see here, I kick this guy and I move forward. 1, I want to bring this guy closer. 2, I want to just put this at the very edge of Sparks' range, so I can just keep moving. Same thing with this one. You can see I don't just walk over and let it collect on my head, or I don't wait for it to fall down before I start to move. This is something you do need to get a bit of a feel for, but this is one way you can kind of speed up. Sheila is just don't sit around with the, you know, kind of move to make things work. For here, you can do a double jump here. It's kind of tricky. It's a very delayed one. Or you can just do a super jump. I do recommend, if you're to super jump this, and get used to it in general, canceling your super jump towards the top. They all have different heights that you need to cancel at, but they'll save you a little bit of time each as you go. And even if you don't get like an optimal super jump cut, you're still going to be saving a little bit. So for something like this that's very, very low, where you don't need the majority of your super jump, I recommend throwing a cancel in. You'll get a feel for how early or how late you need to do it based on height the more you do it. So you can see that was somewhat of a delayed double jump there. This one you do need to super jump. You can see there I moved forward while I was waiting. Here is a super jump conservation jump. I talked about these in the intro as well. There's 2 of them we do in the game. Depending on how much height you get, it was kind of seems to determine whether or not they can work, and then you land and hit X. That one's very quick. There's a second one that comes up. I feel like you need to land on the second one and for a little bit longer before you hit jump, but we'll talk about that when we get there. What would happen here if you didn't get the super jump conservation, you would just re-jump. You can skip this entirely. I kick towards the top, not necessarily to cancel my jump, because I don't want to get chucked off. And what I'd recommend in general is trying to shoot this guy as right as possible. Every now and then you can shoot this guy kind of more back and his hitbox will land in this other guy and you can't kick him. It's very annoying. So sending him more that way, he's a little bit more guaranteed to be behind, like so. I probably didn't need to do a turnaround there, but that's okay. Here we're just going to fall straight off and hold right. I like to get forward here too to try to trigger this guy. It's not as big of a deal. As you land, not when you land. As you land, you want to kick to break this the basket as soon as possible. Bring him forward and kick. This is another super jump, or you can just double jump up there and the double jump up there. We're going to cancel. Pushing sparks there. For that jump there, getting this one gem, you can jump pretty early. Do a double jump there, and you'll still have sparks be able to get that. That is kind of a nice little, barely any time saved, but you don't have to walk, wait for sparks to collect it, and then jump. Obviously, you're not like waiting, but you're going far enough to have sparks collected while you're still on the ground. You don't need to. Probably could have even pushed that a little bit harder. Get to that second to last step and super jump. You can hear me mashing through that section. And here's the other super jump. I don't get it in this instance. I cut too low. Actually, that technically maybe could have worked, but that's alright. You don't get the super jump, you just go all the way up. I'll just quickly show the super jump here, anyways. So I feel like I land slightly longer, is all. Nothing to really worry about too much. You don't even have to go for them. So for this, what you're going to want to do is jump straight off, do 2 quick double jumps, just walk through the line that you get with this one gem. And then aim for this back patch of green. And then as you hit this green, turn into it, just like so. As you step off, you may want to actually hit the down input to make sure you get that one gem. That'll just bring you a little bit closer, help guarantee you get it. And then clean this up however you want. You can do one like that. I find this better than doing 2 doubles on the 2 vases. We're going to come on out, and then you can see I exited with 260. Picked up the 10 gem, obviously. And like I was showing with the
Yeah, I've got spooky shot.
Other
Honestly, I really
Sheila
like
entry, you can stand on that little ledge that we jumped off of. If you were on like 1.1 and you left that one gem, you would actually want to take this line past this pillar, pick up the one gem, and then you would be approaching the stream from this, and you'd kind of boomerang yourself back. I prefer this movement personally. I think the little boomerang over the stream is a little tricky. Flop on up there and then do another flop. If you're not comfortable with the flop, you can take it a little bit wider and get an easier flop. Here, a couple different ways you can handle this. You can just try to go in and essentially charge through him and then land. Don't do anything too fancy outside of what I show you. You can actually soft lock this cutscene. You're not really at risk the way we do it in 117, but it is a thing that can happen. You'll land somewhere here. There are 3 gems that you would have picked up, stray gems. So make sure you get those all, and then we're going to charge through this, and we're going to do a nice flop on up, just like so. Your angle is going to vary drastically depending on how you enter, and it's probably not even going to be consistent. I tend to take this pretty left of this corner to get this guy, and that puts me in a different place than I was even right here. But for this flop, you can do a little bit of like zigzagging towards the top here. So you can see I charge, flame that, and then towards my towards the top, I stop with my not even towards the top, halfway. Maybe I stop my charge. And you can kind of zigzag towards the top of it to help get you up there, and you can press X towards the top of it to help you as well. If you fail that once, this guy is usually still in position. If you fail it more than once, he's not always guaranteed to be in there. And it's going to be depending on how, quick you fail. Try to get under those gates, the gate, as quick as possible.
Thank you.
If you fail the flop... Crap. If you fail the flop, what you do then is a spin jump. And if you get the spin jump first try, this guy will still be on the same cycle. That's what I was talking about before in this previous clip. After that is, multiple attempts at the spin jump. The failure is this guy could be kind of anywhere, depending on how fast you reattempt it. Or obviously just come and go around like that.
You okay? Thank you.
.360 is what we want to see. And now we've got skateboarding. There's two routes that I want to show. Oh, I'm going back here. But before that, I do want to talk about some basics with skateboarding. Anything you charge through, of course, is going to be like your charging, or anything you run through. X, if you can buffer in X inputs to go off of ramps. These blue ones will be your half pipes, and these orange ones will be your actual jumpy ramps. Compress it towards the end, or like I said, just hold X as you approach, and you'll get it. To do tricks off of orange ramps, press triangle, and then move the D-pad or analog stick if you're using that. Tricking is slightly going to help us here. Not tricking specifically, but doing things like this. Just turn yourself upwards to get your flame arced. And then the last thing I do want to show you is for a couple of these on the half pipes, you can either do turns, actual half pipe turns like this, or you can do something like that, where you kind of go off and turn yourself around. Or maybe you don't even really turn yourself around, you just turn yourself like that. So keep those in mind. In general, the way I handle these is I hold down. Oh, sorry, don't hit X. Hold down, and then as soon as I'm over the ledge, the lip, I should say, I switch into left or right while holding down. So it's a diagonal input, and that can help turn you around. And then from there, it's just a matter of knowing when to release triangle to get what you want. So if you're just trying to do a little buck backwards, or not buck backwards, buck to the side, you would release pretty early compared to an actual turnaround, which you do a little bit later. Another thing that I'm not really going to talk about for the beginner route, but I'm going to talk about just so it's here, period. Jumping, after you kind of come down from a slope, can help preserve your speed. Kind of bunny hopping, you think like a racing game. And if you're not careful with this, sometimes you can actually build up far too much speed if you're not used to it, I should say. In general, we do want to push our speeds, of course. But the beginner route will not really utilize this. It's going to be pretty flat, and your speed will kind of peter out if you're not doing this. So keep that in mind. One thing with lizards on the ground, if they jump, it's generally a good idea to jump with them. Typically these ones on the outer edges are good for that. They kind of jump up the half pipe. So jump and then flame, as opposed to kind of just doing that. I find it a little bit easier to aim and then turn in mid-air and kind of drag the flame over and get the lizard, as opposed to if they're not going to jump, you can just stay grounded like so. So they'll kind of mix up how they handle it. But see that one in the middle, you don't necessarily have to jump for. You can run through it or go up the half pipe and then flame. So that being said, let's see a beginner skate route. One thing, just really quick to talk about, you can start this very first one, or even the second one like this, if you're not comfortable with this movement. You can get all those gems there. What we normally do is we split one side, and it doesn't matter if you do the left side first or the right side. We do one with skate 1 and one with skate 2. There's some weird like momentum conservation going through portals that happens, as well as through teleports, that can really kind of screw with you. What'll happen is you'll land on the skateboard, and instead of being able to like feel like you're immediately neutral, you can see I buck left there. Ideally, I should be able to turn directly to these 5 gems. This 5 gem, I should say, but I can't. And this can happen either starting skate 1, so from the entry from the portal, or after teleporting as well. So, but in general, any sort of momentum you get can still get these right side gems. You just need to get used to it. So that being said, this is beginner skateboarding 1. I'm gonna get left side first. Again, holding X to go up that half pipe. Make sure you go a little bit deep there. You can charge straight through this. Go along this. Don't cut too early, otherwise this guy on the ground here will turn early. And again, this does not do any turnarounds, but I could throw those in. Now, one thing I'll note is on half pipes, I didn't really bring it up. If you don't land close to like being perpendicular to the floor with Spyro's head, you can actually crash. But you can there's leeway to it, and we'd make use of that for a couple of these parts. So I want to take you through 1 first, and then I'll talk about a few different things. And then I'll take you through 2, and we'll talk about a few different things from 2. This is intended to kind of push you a little bit. There are some slightly tricky parts to these beginner routes, but if you're trying to learn something, this is a good place. And I think with the knowledge that you'll be armed with, I think you'll be okay. So if we go back to the start here. So again, come out a little bit. Don't turn too early. You can charge straight through this, or you can try to flame it. Flaming it, you can sometimes drop the gem. It's a little bit annoying. It's not the end of the world. Land along this and kind of travel along this half pipe, just like so, to come out. Again, if you cut too early, this guy will be turned around. In general, you can do the turnaround for this one, but it's not necessary. What can make your life a little bit easier here is getting this one and then carrying on through without doing the half pipe. Not the end of the world. But here, instead of having Spyro kind of completely going this direction, I turn him just a little bit to the right here to make getting these a little bit easier. Just like so. So you can see how I landed with the angle. If I was slightly more right, I would have probably crashed and needed to go and get another skateboard off to the left. And I'm holding right to jump around so I can take a nice wide turn here. If you're not wide enough, what can happen is you can ride right up against this wall, and for some reason you can just skip hitting the second basket. Maybe even the third, but it's typically the second one that can happen with. So that's why we take it very wide. We'll leave that other 1 gem there. So this is a very tricky part right here. Trips up a lot of people. Getting these gems on these little raised platforms. The best advice I could offer you is to jump later than you think, and that's going to come up a little bit later as well. Jump later than you think and kind of be riding alongside of it. So you can see this guy eventually stops. I kissed this. I'm riding right up against it. You can see I just hit my X input. So I'm starting to ride right up against it, and maybe about right when I would normally like pass it, if we think about it like being right here, maybe even a little bit before. I guess this may be a perspective thing, never mind. Maybe about halfway through this little trapezoid is when I initiate my jump. And with my jump, I turn in just ever so slightly. I probably could have done a little bit more, but to be safe, I didn't. And then I need to turn to just get that guy. And then the added difficulty is we have to get this 1 gem. What might be helpful for you is after you get that guy, you might need to jump. And you might need to jump and slide past this pillar. That might be the best way for you to handle it. It is for me, I should say. So not just for you. It's definitely a thing when you have too much speed and you're not used to it, you can jump and still be okay there. You don't have to take that too tight. That was pretty wide. This part can be very tricky. In general, if you kind of take the same sort of line that I took, which is starting to aim for this 1 gem, this guy will pretty much always follow the same path. And you'll be able to kind of connect these two 1 gems with a line, and he'll be right there in your way, so you can flame him. Go deep, pick both of these up. Now here, what you're going to do is kind of vary a little bit. You can go for both of these gems. It's a little bit tricky to get both. In general, do remember if you missed one or even both of these gems for skateboarding too. So you can see in this case, I did hit him first, and then I tried for these gems. So I tried to go a little bit. I needed to go a little bit tighter. It's not the end of the world if you don't get both. If you do miss a lizard up here, there is a quick little backup I can share. Like, oh no. Something like that. If you hug right and you go up like that, otherwise you can just go down and go back up the ramp there. Jump, hold X going off that ramp. And you might not always have enough height to get this guy at the same level. As you can see, I had plenty of height. In general, what you're going to want to do is you approach him just to be safe. Hold down, press triangle, and then as you turn up, press circle. So you kind of saw that here. Lifts the flame up, that gets him. I hugged that wall there. I take this very wide. Same sort of deal here. Let's slow this down. Jump late. You can see I kiss and I rub up against it first. I turn in and I land and I get it. Now, if for some reason you're still struggling with these, what you can do is you can opt to leave these 2 gems till now. You can break your skateboard. You would ideally want to break it over here. Get the gem, get the gem, get the gem, get the gem, and then I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry, hold on. There we go. And then don't even get your skateboard back. Follow this all the way up and get the skateboard option right here at the start. That'll be your best thing. And then finish like normal. Just like so. I like to turn right towards the end and maybe try to consistently get consistent momentum. Skateboarding 2 is a little bit harder. You've got to deal with not falling off your skateboard. I like to jump right to make sure I get that. Those 2 gems. And then this is probably the trickiest part in this route. Suggestion here, take it wide, jump late. Jump late will be your biggest savior. You don't need to swerve there. I just messed up my routes. Make sure you pick up that 1 gem. If you're going to fail that in Skateboarding 1, or in Skateboarding 2, that little turnaround that I called out as difficult, it's at least early, and you get a quick retry. So doing that upper section before this section puts that lizard that I just got, number 11, in that same position. Otherwise, you can be very inconsistent, so keep that in mind. You can go wide here. You can pick up any of those 3 baskets if you missed them. And then I stupidly muscle memoried into the quick manip for that lizard. What in general would happen is you would, be kind of on this line and you would chase this lizard to like right here and then get him. So this is just a slightly faster manipulation. That's all. So let's talk through this. So this lizard down here can be in a variable spot. Sometimes he will stop right here depending on how you approach. keep that in mind. In general, we do want to flame him from afar, and then you can just touch this wall and use it to turn. You can also touch this wall and flame this guy. If you miss this guy, it's not the end of the world. He'll actually be able to back him up. I'll show you exactly where. I still haven't jumped. I jumped right here. I'm basically about to hit this wall. As long as I'm kind of turning into it, I should be fine to just brush up against it like so. So that like I said, this is the hardest part right here. And the easiest way to do this is just make sure you go wide. If you were to miss this lizard, you would probably want to just go through the tunnel and come back for them. That'll kind of shoot them all in the same direction. Just keep it wide. That's really the big thing that I can say. Make sure you're using diagonals, D-pad for your best results here. And then that first guy can be coming this way. So you get him right here. You can get both of these guys at the same time. Again, just go directly up here. You may want to ease a little bit more right to make sure you manip him this way. You can see I'm kind of going that direction anyways. Pick that gem up. And again, you can do little turnarounds if you should so desire throwing those in. You can pick up that basket right there. It's not the end of the world if you do or don't. Now here, again, this guy follows the same pathing as before. You just don't have the 1 gems to help you. So this guy is very easy. This guy can be a little bit tricky depending on what you have left in here. Because this is round 2, if you do miss any of these, I do recommend being more careful. If you crash, you have to start over. So if you're not confident with that little backup that I showed you where you just jump on the, I don't know, the ceiling there of that dome, then take it wide, land, go back up the normal way. And again, ideally you only leave 1 gem here. So that might be the strat. Just remember which gem you do leave. So I would veer more left and get him, or I would get him and veer right like I did. Same sort of thing. Make sure if you don't have enough height, you should probably just do it in general. Do that little triangle manipulation to pull back and get it. Just like so. If you want to do skateboarding 1 and 2 in a slightly faster route, slightly more difficult route, this is it. I'm not going to play this in full. I am just going to stop and rewind. It will not be one full. You know where to find that. Running along this just a bit. If you, again, turn too early, you'll manipulate this guy backwards. If you do think you manipulated him backwards, if you cut very left going into here, you can sometimes get him. And here, you can kind of see, I go through, see down, very quickly, I initiate that right input to turn around. This one is not a turnaround, this one's just a slight left turn. You can see I barely held down there before I initiated left. Same sort of issues as before. Make sure you don't miss that middle basket right there. You can see me jumping to conserve some speed. Don't jump on ramps going down. Jump on ramps going up. So here, this is going to be a little bit of a tricky manipulation. Same sort of deal as before with these gems up here. You can keep some speed by opting to not jump there, and that can help you in this tunnel. This tunnel is tricky with speed. So again, jumping late, I don't quite kiss it like before, but I still do the inward thing. I get that guy. I get him early enough with an early enough turn. I didn't need this jump. I could have gone, I like to go wide of this pillar. But you saw me right there jump, and jumping can help you turn. And get just enough so that you keep this. Can get this gem. If you miss this gem, you have to come through. It's annoying. I aim for this dash right here, right in the center. You can see it's like the third one up in the center. It's an early jump. This guy we're going to get later. This guy's a pain in the butt. but he's not too bad once you know what to do. Still can be a pain in the butt. Get both of those those gems, and leave that green. That's what we're going to do here. So, same sort of deal in that we might need to press triangle and down and initiate a flame going up to get this guy. Actually, in general, for the first pass, you usually have enough speed, is what I've found, so you don't actually need to worry about that. So, instead, I flame him, and my cue is I kind of wait till that flame pretty much hits him before I start to turn down and right. So I was maybe a little bit earlier than I thought I would be. And then from there, getting this guy is tricky. Depends on where you land and where you're pushing him. So if we keep going, you can see I'm holding down right, and then I did a little bit of I stopped holding right about here. So I do a quick drop of the down and right, and I find that it usually lines me up good for where I'm going to be able to push the lizard right in front of me. So that's one way you can help make this a little bit better. You could also just go more forward. Just go forward and then turn around. Take a wider turn. And get him. You just need to make sure you push him this way. I also wait to flame until I'm certain that I'm going to be able to flame him. It's a bit awkward with the camera angle, but it's not the end of the world. You're in. Lizard's 1. Break on that, go around, get the skateboard, come back. Jump late, turn in, jump off that. The rest of this is still the same.
Not the tightest turn there.
I like to jump, land, jump, and you can jump very early. You could probably jump earlier than this and get this guy a little bit earlier. So, skate 2. And again, you can start with the right side in skate 1 and then get the left side in skate 2. Doesn't make too much of a difference. Same sort of start as the previous route. Not going to talk about that again. Just jumping late into that wall while turning. In fact, this looks very similar, aside from the fact that we now do this. So this guy is going to be a little bit of a variable. He will sometimes not be there, and you'll have to get him a little bit more deeper in. Be ready to just respond to where he is. It may help to go wide, but I personally still kind of like to take the more inside line. And then I like leaving the green gem again. So there's very easy to just get that. I lift up a little bit there. I don't super exaggerate it. Jump up that slope. So one thing I should have brought up before, in general, if a lizard jumps into a half pipe, you should jump into a half pipe. Sometimes that guy won't jump. He'll actually keep running this way. Just run with him. Jump over that. You can jump again. He's jumping into that. We do quick turnarounds. For that manipulation, it's ever so slightly faster than just following him that way. You can see where I land is about on this gem. And then what I want to do is, this is even a little bit more exaggerated than I normally do. Just go wide of that 5 gem so that I can turn in. I'm far enough forward to manipulate him backwards, and I have a nice enough angle to be able to turn pretty shallow here. And you can get him pretty early. I think actually this looks better here. I like this better. You can see it's not as exaggerated, but I do go forward enough still. And there you go. After that, finish off Sunny Villa, mash through things. Exit the area, and then exit the level, and that is Sunny Villa. We're on to Cloud Spires, unless you want a different route. For the proxy route in Sunny Villa, it's very similar to the non-proxy route. Changes and rearranges some stuff. We're going to watch it first. You get a large variance in the height you can get from the proxy. That was honestly pretty optimal. You don't have to do much to adjust down onto that pillar. Sometimes you get too much height, you lose sight of the pillar. You need to learn kind of where you are relative to the pillar. And then from here on out, everything up through entering Sheila is identical. And the only difference will be after Sheila. It'll just charge straight down, and then it reconverges with the non-proxy route. So to show gem counts here, I'll show you this one here. $86 in the whirlwind, or 97 entering Sheila.
55 enters.
Leaving here 206 when you jump across, assuming everything goes well.
Jumps. Action. Or getting both of them, I should say.
61 going in if you use that one. Or 86 leaving.
Probably my best leaving.
When you're done, simply charge straight down and you've reconvened with the previous proxy, non-proxy route. There we go. Alright, so let's talk about this proxy. This is Rhynoc proxy. It's not your normal Rhynoc proxy from the other two categories. It's kind of stupid because now we have a moving target. You're going to be approaching kind of like this. You're going to need to loop around and get that one gem. The same sort of rules with Rhynoc proxy kind of apply. I'll link, of course, Zeus's Rhynoc proxy, just as any % tutorial in general. You're going to want to aim center of mass. You're not going to want to be too deep into the actual hitbox. It's not like Mammoth. Your best success will be kind of on the outer shell of the hitbox. And like I said, the height will vary just a little bit, a good bit. But you can see kind of where I am when I hit. A couple different ways you can handle this, and you kind of deal with what you get. But you can kind of see I'm like skimming just off of his back when I hit X. Or reinitiate X. So I'm very much so not deep into him at all. Pretty shallow there. One way of setting this up, and you don't see it here, but I'll show another example here. You can off-screen him, and I like that. Yeah, let me start with the off-screen one. Yeah. So I completely off-screen him going for this one gem. And then I know once I've gotten this one gem, I start to turn back. I've already started to turn back. And then I let loose my flame. I'm pretty far away from him, but this allows me to turn into him a little bit more. So you can see I still went center of mass there. And just got him on the back. I even turn into him just slightly. You can also be a little bit ahead of him and still get it. In general, if you're being launched forward, you're a little bit too deep. So you need to have jumped earlier. Just like so. And so you can see again, I turn into him. That's a big piece of this. You can also again turn to the other side. For your best success, you know, you're gonna have to play with timings from your flame charge jump, but it is essentially following those inputs. And you can get variable height, like I said, so be careful. Sometimes you'll end up too far, sometimes you'll get turnarounds. You kind of need to just gauge where this will be and flop into it. So like so, maybe you just flop and then you land. You have to adjust in midair. Only other thing I would bring up is this little movement right here to get these two baskets on the other side of this corner here. Glide ever so slightly. You're not going to want to immediately do that. You want to glide a little bit out around the corner like that. It's a little bit exaggerated, but that'll get the job done.